Hello, my soul tribe. This is the forecast for the extremely powerful lunar eclipse in Scorpio happening at 12:12 Eastern Time, the night of 15th, going into the morning of the 16th. And that would be 10:12 Mountain Time PM on the 9th of the 15th. So why is this a very potent and intense eclipse? Because not usually full moons are all about endings and closures. Now this time it's a supermoon, which means the moon is much closer to the earth, and it's eclipsing in this very potent sign of Scorpio, which is ruled by the planet Pluto. As you all know, if you've been following my videos, that we've been having a lot of Plutonian energy these days. So eclipses, first of all, bring deep, intense, and lasting shifts. The effects of an eclipse usually start a theme that lasts for about 6 months. This eclipse will end the eclipse season. The solar eclipse that happened 2 weeks ago in Taurus is concluded by the lunar eclipse in Scorpio, and that starts a new cycle or a new theme for most of us and for the collective. So let's see what the theme of this particular eclipse is. Now, solar eclipses usually affect our mental bodies, our external selves, how we think. And we've been going through this shifting process of how we think within our bodies, our homes, the spaces we live in, and so on and so forth, because the solar eclipse was in Taurus. This lunar eclipse now is in Scorpio. And the lunar eclipses, because they aspect the moon, affect our emotional bodies. And so the emotional body in deep Scorpio tends to expose all that's hidden, unconscious, anything we've swept under the carpet. Pluto allows us to see the unseen layers. And as we see the unseen layers, there is Scorpio's about power struggles, control issues, change, restoration, and so on and so forth. Now, this eclipse is making a T-square to Saturn. So now we're going to go into the details of what type of shifts it's bringing. So Saturn is the planet of discipline. So this eclipse is telling us to use our discipline in order to shift what is coming up for shifting as the things, the deep layers come out from under the carpet. And what that means is that when you eclipses bring changes, which two things that anyway needed to shift, but we were not looking at them, or we were somehow not allowing. So eclipses will make them happen so that we can move into our evolution. So when that happens, Saturn is asking us to surrender and allow that shift to happen, and use discipline in order to navigate that shift. Now, we also have Mercury retrograde starting the 10th. So it is telling us that as a lot of people go through their deep, intense internal shifts, give others the space to go through that shift and not personalize anything as you're going through yours. And Mercury retrograde this time is actually going to help us, because it's going to allow us to refrain from speaking our mind as is, and allowing others the same space that we allow ourselves. And this will actually help the emotional outbursts that a supermoon Scorpio lunar eclipse can bring. And now we're going into the deeper, more spiritual aspects of this eclipse. So this eclipse is making an aspect with Mars, and Mars is conjunct Neptune. So Mars, the planet of mojo usually, and strength, is aspecting Neptune. So this gives us extreme spiritual strength in order to make the shifts that we are being asked to make. So this is a very deep internal spiritual shifting. And when I say spiritual, I mean of the internal layers. That said, once we undergo that shift, we are going to be pushed into action, because Jupiter, the planet that expands everything it touches, is moving from Pisces to Aries. This is a giant shift happening for the collective. Jupiter has a longer orbit, so this is not just about the eclipse, but the new theme that's coming up, which is going to last quite a bit. So when Jupiter was in Pisces, it was all about deep introspection, changing, shedding layers, all of that we've been going through, the conjunctions of the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction and the past few months. And now it's moving into Aries. So now that it has shown us the deep internal layers of shifting inside out, now it's asking us or propelling us into full action, so that everyone's going to go into full-blown action. Completely different energy. The Piscean energy is all about introspection, deep internal stuff, spiritual stuff, emotional stuff. And now we're going into Aries, which is all about external action, exposure. So what this means is, when Jupiter moves into Aries, it's extremely powerful manifestation. Your thoughts, whatever you're paying attention to or thinking about at this point, are manifesting multifold. And so where you pay your attention right now is so pivotal, because whatever you're thinking about is expanding. So do not allow the lunar eclipse to take you into, do not get caught up in the drama of the emotion, but focus on what you want to manifest, because and start taking action on it. Jupiter is going to propel you to take that action. Mars is going to give you the mojo to do it. And this is very powerful forward momentum energy after a very deep, introspective, shifting, life transforming phase. And now you use the lessons from that phase in order to continue to move forward. In addition to this, we've been experiencing a lot of solar flares and solar activity. There's been like about 18 or 19 M-class solar flares, and even an X-class solar flare, which is much larger. And solar flares tend to be destabilizing for the geomagnetic spheres and for our physical bodies. So there could be a lot of physical symptoms, but this is part of the ascension process. If we do not change, we're not going to ascend. Think about a butterfly, right? Think about a caterpillar that's turning into a butterfly, and it's in its cocoon, and you're trying to tell the caterpillar, if you just kind of persevere through this process and allow the change to happen, you're going to just burst out open with wings and see beautiful colors and see the world out there. There's so much to see and do instead of sitting in this cocoon. And the caterpillar is like, are you kidding me? I mean, like, this is so much of a struggle. I can barely see anything, and I don't even see what you're talking about. All I see is, all of these changes and the struggle and the resistance and all of that. And then you tell the butterfly, the less you resist, the sooner you're going to turn into the butterfly, is what you're telling the caterpillar. And so in the same way, as we move into this new world that's ascending, some of us may not be able to see beyond the struggle, but what's so important to keep that eye on your manifestation, even if you cannot see it right now, because all that beauty, we're becoming crystalline through the these solar flares that are constantly bringing in new information into the biosphere, and they allow us, they're bombarding us with photonic light, and that is making Gaia and our bodies more crystalline. And that's how our DNA is completely shifting so that we can adapt to this new ascended Gaia. And of course, it's going to be destabilizing and chaotic and noisy, and but there's always that demolition that happens before the evolution. And just don't get caught up in that noise. Stay in the eye of the storm, where it is calm, in your center, in your power, and just stay. That is where, stay in your frequency. This is why it's so important to keep your frequency so high at this point. And the frequency depends on the thoughts we think and the emotions we have and how we navigate those emotions. And the frequency, the steadiness. Don't energize what you do not want. Do not get caught up in any emotions that you do not want. Do not focus on any emotions, anyone, anything that you don't want right now, and just energize what you do want, and focus on what you really do want. And Mars in Aries is going to magnify that. So yes, a lot of us have been through an intense eclipse season that has shifted us and changed us, and crystallized us into what we intend to become. And the way we navigate it is through the discipline of Saturn, through staying in our center, through allowing those layers to come up and seeing what is coming up for shifting instead of resisting it, but not getting caught up in the drama and the emotion and the thought. And remember that in the new energy, you get to drop the old energy and move on. You get to drop your karma. You get to drop your old patterns and move into what you're becoming into. So I hope you all have peace, comfort, and a lot of, and are able to stay in your center through these shifting times of the eclipse. Have a beautiful new life. Happy crystallizing.